Well, I'm delighted to be joined by James Thompson, who is the founder of Spokes in Bagshot. Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Hi Mark, I'm really good.
Sun shining, birds singing. Beautiful here in Surrey.
It's awesome cycling weather today here in Surrey.
So does that mean the sun's shining, people come in and decide to go and buy a bike?
The two go together like ham and cheese. Cycling and sunshine are what it's all about. We're big into all types of cycling here at Spokes. One of the things that we were discussing earlier was the rapid rise of female cycling. Women's cycling is massively undervalued in the cycling community and market globally. And it was Giant Bicycles, who are the world's biggest producer of bikes, based over in Taiwan. They account for nearly 80% of the global bike production. They really tackled this and thought, how can we bring female cycling into the 21st century? And they created an entire brand called Liv, aimed at women's cycling. And it's not just aimed at women's cycling, it's revolutionising women's cycling. The ethos of the brand is to be totally controlled and developed, branded, styled, marketed, even manufactured by women. So there's female design team, females on the factory floor. They take a lot of influence from other industries like the fashion industry to give a really on-trend, complementary accessories, fashion-led brand that really gives women what they want, not what men think women want.
Now you've created an area, a fantastic area in your store here at Bagshot.
We have.
And it's dedicated purely to ladies and women's cycling.
It is.
Talk me through some of the things you've got here, because surely a bike is a bike is a bike?
A bike is not just a bike, Mark. Everybody is different, and as much as we're in the age of equality, men and women do have differences. And when it comes to cycling, it's important to address those differences so that you're cycling something comfortably and efficiently. Women's bikes, for example, if I take you over here, this is a Liv Langma, which is their kind of mid-range, really light, good quality road bike. Compared to a guy's bike, this has a few subtle but significant differences.
Okay, what are they?
So typically, women are longer in the leg and shorter in the torso. So you want something that gives you a lot of leg length there, so you can get the saddle up nice and high, but it has a shorter cockpit. It's got narrower bars, shorter stem, even shorter cranks on here, and a women's specific saddle that still doesn't look particularly comfortable, but it's anatomically designed to support the rider properly and let her cycle in complete confidence and comfort.
So have bikes for ladies been designed only fairly recently, or have they always been there but we just don't really know about them?
They've been around for a while, but the industry term for women's bikes has always been pink it and shrink it. And so there's always this sideline kind of afterthought range developed by men where they're typically female colours and slightly smaller frame sizes. And this is the historic kind of outdated view that guys in the bike industry have had, is that, okay, let's make a couple of token women's bikes. And the reality is they weren't ideal for women, they weren't what they wanted. And so it's time to readdress and revolutionise women's cycling.
Now this looks very expensive. What's sort of lead-in price for a bike for anybody, a beginner for example? What would you recommend?
So for a beginner, I mean, let's take Liv as an example. We do deal with other brands, but their range mirrors the guys' range, which basically starts from about £365 and then tops out just shy of 10 grand for a sort of really top-end Carlos Fandango race bike. It's like anything, you get points of diminishing returns and you get points of value and performance in the range. as you go up the range, bikes get lighter, they get better quality components on them. You get carbon fibre becoming a frame material of choice around sort of £1,500 mark. And there's a lot of benefits to these progressions in the price range. So carbon is the dream material to build a bike out of because it's lighter, it's stiffer, but magically it's more comfortable as well. So it dampens out a lot of the buzz and vibration that comes through that really transforms the feel of the ride. And this is something that I always say to customers, you know, if they're looking for their first road bike, for example, they want to spend about £800-900. If you can spend a bit more and get up to that sort of £1,500 mark, you get a lot more. If you go to 2K, you wouldn't notice a great deal of difference, but the difference between 800 and 1,500 quid is massive.
Now this is, I always think, a very much a male-dominated world, and looking around here, you've actually created a dedicated area. It doesn't seem as confrontational, if you know what I mean. When you first walk into some places, it must be quite intimidating, I would say, for certain women, ladies. Just a bit uncomfortable.
That is exactly the terminology which both Spokes and Liv as a brand have addressed before. When we first got on board with Liv, this is one of the key points that they really highlighted when they were selling the new brand into some of their stores and saying, you know, historically, the bike industry is a pretty scary place for women to go. It's kind of got this historic image of a grubby, slightly pervy guy in overalls kind of grunting at you and making you feel uncomfortable. Spokes wants to lose that whole kind of preconception. We want to give somebody a feeling of warmth and inclusivity. We spoke before about how I've got, with my sales staff, I have a little exercise that I send them on, a few little mystery shopping experiences to gauge the good and the bad and the indifferent in various other industries.
What does that actually mean in reality? So what do? Do you send them into some sort of other ladies type store, or?
I send them into a few spaces. So I take inspiration from the car industry, the jewellery industry, estate agents, various other high-end kind of offerings. And my real jewel in the crown is to send them into Victoria's Secret. And the reason I do this is that it puts a guy in the mindset of a female customer that walks into a bike shop for the first time. They're out their comfort zone. They feel nervous. I mean, there's some guys that might feel very comfortable in there, but it's out of most people's comfort zones. And the way that Victoria's Secret deal with their male customers is so good. They really put you at ease when you go in there. They make talking about intimate, personal things very relaxed, informal experience. And you come away feeling quite liberated by it. And you think, you know what, I was pretty nervous about going there and talking about my wife's panties, but actually, I didn't need to be. And that's exactly the end result that I want to have for our female customers here at Spokes.
So if somebody came into the store today and wanted, for example, some a shirt, some lycra, talk me through some of the stuff that you've got here. Because, you know, when your guys would come across and you've got a complete range, so...
We do. We've got something like this. This is, to the untrained eye, a lion taming suit.
A lion taming, okay, all right. Do you care to elaborate there?
Sorry, that's what my wife says when I put these things on.
Okay, right, okay.
But this is actually one of the most comfortable garments that you can wear for cycling.
What's it made out of, first of all? Is it lycra?
It is lycra. There's a few different variations of lycra as you go up the price range, but fundamentally when you're cycling you want to be in something that's really comfortable, non-restricting, breathable, and it almost feels like you're not wearing anything when you're cycling. It's that part of you and comfortable that it just enables you to cycle with comfort and ease. And the crucial part of that is you've got this pad. this is specifically designed for the female anatomy, to give good support around the sit bones, relieve pressure around the important bits. It's got some elasticity built into it as well, so it stretches and moves as you're cycling. And the idea behind these bibs is that they come up and over your shoulders and they give you greater support, and they don't slip up or down. You don't kind of get them riding down at the back while you're cycling. So they stay fixed in place, and they just really enhance your cycling experience.
Now I can see 3 green helmets directly behind you,
Yes.
and safety is a big factor, and it's scary. I mean, I've just driven around the roads in Surrey,
Yeah.
and it is a bit of a scary place. So safety is absolutely all important, and that's another key thing that anybody, male or female,
It's absolutely paramount. We always encourage the use of cycling helmets, and while it's not mandatory, it kind of makes common sense. And helmets are so much more protective than they used to be. They've got so much more comfort and ventilation built into them. You don't feel like you've got something on your head, but the level of protection that they do offer you in the event of a fall or a crash is massive. So we always recommend helmets to people.
So if you're a lady thinking about taking up cycling, what would the sort of top tips be wherever they are in the country? They're going to pop into their local store, might be Spokes, hopefully here in Bagshot, but if it isn't and they're in Liverpool or Leeds or the Midlands, what would you say is absolutely key to remember on your first visit?
Don't be nervous. Attitudes are changing in our world, and females are becoming a really big part of our community. And like every Sunday, we have 2 bike rides going out at different paces, and almost half the people that participate are women now. So don't be put off, don't be scared. There's a lot of people out here that want to help and encourage you into cycling. And there are so many things that we could talk about, but get a reasonable bike that allows you to have a bit of progression built into it. So don't think about where you are now, but where you'd like to be eventually, where you could be. Set yourself some goals so that you can kind of benchmark your personal performance and growth against it, and you'll really reap the rewards as you hit those. You'll feel like, yeah, I'm achieving something, I'm doing something. And the progression rate in cycling is so good. You quickly become so much fitter and see the benefits to your health really quickly.
James, you've got me hooked. I'm looking forward to looking around the rest of your store. Thank you so much indeed for your time today here on the Meetings Club channel.
My pleasure, Mark.